Standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Katie, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilwoman Gottschall?
Here.
Councilman Duran?
Here.
Councilman Jackson?
Here.
Councilman Luper?
Here.
Councilwoman Camp?
Here.
Councilman Tucker?
Here.
Mayor Nichols?
Here. Okay, I'd like to call the Craig City Council meeting, February 11, 2025, meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. If you'll notice in your packets, we're going to start handling the consent agenda differently. The consent agenda will be approved by a single motion to approve the consent agenda, and council members will vote without debate. Council members may move to remove a consent agenda matter for any reason and request that it be managed separately for discussion and consideration. Matters removed from the consent agenda will be placed on the agenda as an item of other business for discussion and consideration. Item A is the minutes from January 28, 2025, short-term rental workshop. Item B, approval of the minutes from January 28, regular meeting. Approval of the bills through February 6, 2025, in the amount of $784,187.59. Approval of the appointment of Larry Elgin to the Airport Advisory Board as a voting representative from the City of Craig. Item E, approval of the appointment of Alva Jones to the Airport Advisory Board as a joint voting appointee for the Moffett County and the City of Craig. Item F, approval of the award of bids or award of requests for proposals for the items listed. They are being considered awarded following the formal competitive bidding process. Item 1, custodial services to All Natural in the amount of $375 per week for the City Hall, $75 per week for the Center of Craig, and $50 per week for the museum. Mesh swing cover to Reconomics in the amount of $10,888.00. Chemical controllers for the Aquatic Center to CEM Sales and Service in the amount of $14,465. Lifeguard chairs to Pool Web Commercial Pool Supplies in the amount of $12,243.39. Woodbury Park fencing to Ivory Tip Fencing in the amount of $10,708.80. Item 6, 2, 3, 4, 6-yard dumpsters to Mobile Container Service in the amount of $19,485.00. And design build step Craig Dog Park to Jensen Custom Builders, Jennison Custom Builders in the amount of $15,200. Now, again, to refresh council's memories, these were budgeted items that we did on our 2025 budget, and these bids are under the budgeted amount. That's what we add to the consent agenda. So with all that said,
Make a
What's
motion
council-
to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Councilmember Jackson made a motion to approve as presented. Councilwoman Gottschall seconded the said motion. Any discussion or removal? Discussion for removal, I should say. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda was approved as presented. Item 2 is the agenda, approval of the agenda for February 11th, 2025 council meeting.
So moved to approve the agenda for the February 11th, 2025 council meeting.
Second.
Duran, okay. Councilmember Luper made a motion to approve the agenda as presented, second by Councilman Duran. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved as presented. Presentations. All right, I know John, there you are. John Kampaski? Okay, Craig Press will give a presentation. Welcome, John, come on up. I warned you that I would butcher that, so I apologize.
It's all right. I've been working with middle school students for 20 years, so I've heard worse. I don't have a formal presentation for you guys this evening. When I last presented myself, it was during public comment, which meant we couldn't have any dialogue back and forth. And one of the unique things about being a reporter is I always find that I am asking questions of everybody else, and I always want to give people the opportunity to ask that of me. I did want to share with a little bit more detail why I was really excited to find out that I was going to be covering Craig and Moffat County more. After 3 years of writing, primarily for the pilot and their subsidiary publications, Colorado Hunter, Yampa Valley Adventures, etc. I came on part-time in January, and very thankful to Bonnie Stewart and John Chalstrom and past editors and staff for supporting me in that role. When I found out I was going to primarily be shifting to covering Craig and Moffat County, I was absolutely thrilled. And I wanted to give you guys a little bit more background why. I alluded the last time I presented to you guys that I grew up in upstate New York, small little town, smaller than Craig, and graduating class of about 60 people, dairy farming community. And as I was growing up, from about 10th grade to 12th grade, that community went through a massive debate surrounding energy. It turned out that a bunch of downstate companies were interested in putting wind turbines on dairy farms in our area, which kind of sparked this interesting debate about energy and energy generation. And so I got to watch that all play out before I moved to Colorado. Once I moved to Colorado, I was in the San Luis Valley and got to be part of another interesting situation with natural resources, this time surrounding water, and cities from the Front Range wanting to buy water rights in the San Luis Valley and bring that water up to the Front Range. So I got to watch that play out. And when I moved to Craig in 2021 and found out about the energy transitions in this community, I said, okay, seems to be my lot in life to kind of step into these communities in transition. As soon as I moved here, I was absolutely thrilled to be in Craig. I loved the nature of the community. I loved the people that I had met. I loved the fact that it's an authentic community. As I said in a recent article I wrote, it is a community that is filled with grit and determination. And I appreciate the dialogue that I see coming during this transition. And I think there's absolutely amazing things that are happening here. And transitioning to my role as a reporter, I want to make sure that those things are covered. Last weekend, I had the honor of going over to the movie theater on Saturday. Harmony House had hosted a sensory-sensitive movie, primarily for adults and youth with disabilities. For those of you that don't know, the lights are turned up, the volume is turned down. There's an understanding among guests that evening that kids might be moving around and they might be vocal. My daughter has Down syndrome, and it was the first time in her life and in my life that I had been to a movie theater that catered to that. And that was amazing, because it happened in Craig. Cities on our flanks haven't had something like that. And I think that's a testament to the incredible things that are going on in this community that need to be celebrated. And one of the things that I explained to Bonnie, our publisher, and to John, our editor, when I came on, was it is my intent to celebrate those stories. But I also want to make it clear, like, my perspective can't be the only perspective that's bringing these stories forward. So many people in this community have awareness of other incredible things like this that are going on. And so I would invite the city council, city employees, members of the community who are watching or in attendance tonight to please contact me with those stories when they come up. I do try to do my diligence in order to find them and to cover them, but with the eyes of the community looking for them, I think we can really celebrate the amazing things that are happening here as we're also looking at the way that our community is going to transition. So with that said, I'd like to entertain any questions that you guys have for me this evening. It's been an honor to visit with some of you, and I do hope over the coming months and years to visit with all of you and to get to hear a little bit about your vision for Craig and your leadership style and where you think this community has come from and where it will go to.
Questions, comments, council?
Before the meeting, you mentioned that Daily Press just brought another staff member on.
I was, yes, I've been made aware by John Chalstrom, Andy Balkeman, who's our other reporter who is embedded in Moffat County, that we do have another reporter that's been hired by, it's Swift Communications who we are under, and they have many publications throughout Northwest Colorado. And I was told we have another staff member who's moving into the community. I don't necessarily know what their assignment will be yet, but I think this is also like talking about housing. We are the place where most people can now afford to come. And so I don't know necessarily what their assignment's going to be, but I'm going to naturally assume that them being in Craig, that Craig will be part of their beat, so to speak. But yeah.
Any other comments? Well, let me start out by saying today is harder than ever to get the word out.
Yeah.
To people, because there's so many sources of information. And depending where what your news feed is, you either miss most of everything or you get a one-sided view. But with you, we're very happy to see you. I'm very happy of the articles you've covered so far and the accuracy. And I think you're a very good addition to the citizens of the community to get the word out. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure council and staff will down the road. I wrote my first editorial. Peter, what's next on the editorial front?
Got a whole list of things we can talk
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
We should save that for, we can talk about the aquatic center, we can talk about,
Yeah. So we'll have more editorials flowing your way. So, and ideally, department heads will down the road have some information about what they're working on. So the community's better informed. So.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the great things about smaller communities is we can celebrate at all levels. We can celebrate the collective efforts of our communities down to individual stories of workers or city council members or really anybody who's part of our community to kind of bring their stories forward. And I think that gives a depth to smaller communities that can't always be recognized when you're part of a larger community because there's just so much going on that sometimes there's not really an opportunity to bring those stories forward. If you think about if you're on a newspaper in a city, there might not be any opportunity to bring forward these wonderful stories of individuals. And I don't want to say smaller things, but things that can get buried by more dramatic news events. And so I do want to invite all city council members, members of the city staff to please contact me if you even think, this might be something that we want covered, because I do want to make sure we are giving a good depth and perspective to our community.
And I might pick your brain on energy transition. So what you saw seemed to work good, always good feedback. So.
There's one thing we know, people will always need energy.
And more so as we move forward, it seems.
It's true.
So.
It's true. Well, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your introduction and welcome. Item 4, Mr. Brixis, you're up.
okay, good evening, Mayor, Council. I hope you got my report last night. So a few things I wanted to cover off of that. First off, appreciated the opportunity, Councilman Gottschall. We had an opportunity to spend a couple hours with the staff and Councilman Gottschall, and I think the orientation was pretty good. I hope you felt that way. And we had good staff attendance and traveled to several of the locations here last week. Airport MOU, I didn't have a chance to catch up with you on that. That's coming up next meeting, right?
So next meeting, Katie and I have been working with CIRSA, and they were able to suggest some insurance language. And they just I think, got back to us yesterday. So I'll insert the insurance language into the IGA, run it past the county attorney's office, and then it should be ready to go for the next meeting.
Okay. Wanted to talk a little bit about, I know this is a housing authority item, but you look a lot like the commissioners in the housing authority, so I thought maybe just briefly touch on that. So we're trying to put together a sales program as we get close to the sales cycle this year. We're already starting to see some interest. We're getting some hits on our website, and not a lot, but we've had 2 or 3 here in the past week and a half. But we're looking at making some changes, coming out with some new sales collateral that hopefully it's going to have a punch. Take a look at potential interest rate of 4.625, roughly in that range. If they qualify for that 2-1 buy down for that particular seller concession. We're also looking at dropping the price of the units, which we can do, and still cover all of the bases that we have to cover when we finish up with the sales process. And so some of the other things we hope to attract, of course, a lot of local buyers, and we hope to get this in a price range where that 80% AMI actually means something. At the current prices, we can't get anybody into that AMI, into that 80% AMI category. And with the lower pricing, that'll give us a chance to see some of those 2-bedroom, possibly a 3-bedroom unit on the top end of the 80% category. So I think I feel pretty optimistic about some of these changes, and hope that once we have the sales collateral, we'll get that out to you so you can take a look at that. We should have that in the next week or so. And we talked to the broker. We've also asked the broker to kind of trim their fees a little bit. And so we're pushing pretty hard to get that price at the sweet spot for the buyer. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay.
Interesting to see it, and when we pay back some of our loans and get those moving, so.
Yeah. Oh, also, we received 2 truckloads of the carport materials yesterday. So we've got columns and stringers laying in that parking area on the Tucker side. And we have another 1 or 2 truckloads tomorrow, it sounds like, before we have all the materials for the carports. And then the contractors with the contractor with Baja should show up. I think I put in my report the 1st of March. It's actually the end of March. So hopefully not quite as much frost in the ground when they start augering those 10-foot holes for each of those columns that has to go in to support that structure. I also attended the RTA Technical Committee meeting last week. I think the biggest areas that were of interest is the service goals that they're looking to establish. Getting into the process of actually establishing what each area will benefit from: improved bus service, the circulator, long-range planning is rail part of that process, operational transportation goals. Yeah, I don't know if you had a chance to look at some of those attachments I sent you. Eagle Valley had a free fare option within their service goals. That's some of the things that they are looking to, or were looking to do, and I think they actually implemented in certain zones in Eagle Valley. Working with other agencies, governmental entities, putting the IGA together, and then getting the ballot initiative put together for for this fall, actually, is the timeline that they're looking at. So there's a lot of steps that have to happen before that, of course, and there's got to be some public outreach in terms of evaluating what funding initiatives make sense for our area. And, they had a couple of no-shows in terms of communities in the Eagle Valley that did not participate. They still receive service, but it's gotten to the point where I think now they're trying to get back into the RTA so they can pick up some of the amenities of being part of the Regional Transportation Authority in the Eagle Valley. I think I'll let it go at that, and if you have any questions,
Peter, when do you see council getting behind this, support and non-support? And we talked about getting some workshops scheduled. We have that issue. It's going to be up pretty soon, Mountain Rail
yeah.
resolution, which I'll kind of go over what they're looking for in my report, that we should be getting soon. And I'm not sure where council sits on both of these items, so.
Well, unless we have an out-of-cycle meeting, Randy, unless, I know you're part of this too, I think it's going to be hard for us to have any meaningful outreach until April.
They're going to have, and I'm not sure if they're still sticking to that, but in order to fit in and make things happen by November, we need to have public outreach meetings in March on the 11th and the, whatever our second one is, 23rd or whatever. And at that point, I was hoping that we'll have a workshop prior to one of those to where Bill can come in and go over stuff with us. If we can't, for various reasons, then he'll go over a basic presentation to us in the meeting prior to that public outreach. And those are really basic. It's just, they have to be done in order to make the ballot. And so April is going to be really the big push.
Council, what's your preference here? Special work session or?
I
Yeah,
think
whatever we need to do.
a special work session is always,
Yeah,
informative
it'd be-
for us, and that's
Right.
good.
And it'd be good because because Bill will come up and meet with us and talk to us about it, which is what
Answer
we
a
really
lot
need to
more.
happen.
Yeah, a lot more questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So Randy, you work with them and get
Yep.
some dates, please, to
Yep.
Peter and Katie, and we'll send that out to what works for council. Any other questions for Peter? Hearing none? Who went first last time? Luke, your turn.
I'll go first. I had a airport board meeting. We discussed the runway project. Still, we haven't received the invoices, but we're 1.6 million under budget. Waiting on to see if they're gonna do some inspections on the runway. So the grant's left open until then. The ASOS project moved up to a 2025-26 timeframe. So that's design, engineering, and construction, which a total of $311,052. So the city's portion would be, with those grants, it's BIL funding, we'd be on the hook for $3,888 for that. So, and that's about all. We discussed the IGA, but just briefly. That's all that I've got
Okay.
this week.
So how does that work, Luke, if you're under budget on that? Where do
That's
these
what
funds
I'm-
go?
That's when I'm waiting to see the invoices to see what that means for our share and different stuff like that. So I don't know if you know anything yet. That's what I've been told though, is that we're under budget, so might get a
Well,
little
when we
money
see
back.
the final numbers, I think our match
Yeah,
was percentage of that, if I
Right.
remember right. So,
So it should change.
yep.
Andrea,
I attended the skijoring on Saturday, which was out at the fairgrounds. I don't know if the snow helped them or hurt them because I think they weren't expecting snow and then they got snow, so it was kind of slushy and messy, but they did a great job. I mean, I think they do a good job of organizing that event. beautiful day, sunny outside, so it was great. So we were able to attend that, and then LMD is this week on Thursday, and so I'll have that report for next time. And then, just have been enjoying some time out at Loudy Simpson. Obviously, it snowed, and the trail hadn't been groomed over this past weekend, but it had been groomed previously when I was out there. So just look forward to being able to utilize that some this winter with more snow coming. And obviously, it's just so well used. So many people out there walking and just enjoying that. So it's great to see that partnership with the city and the county. That's all I've got.
Randy?
Actually, I was out of town for all of last week, and I missed both RTA meetings and the Mountain Rail meeting, so I have nothing.
Write this down, please. Now, I appreciate all your involvement, so I didn't make fun of you. I was the one that made fun of before, so. Jesse, what do you got?
CNCC yesterday, and they had a few board members that were out, so they tabled a few things, but they were trying to get a marketing approved for their paleontology program and get some for their summer digging courses they got, just trying to get that marketed so they can get more people involved. And they're still working on their housing. She's just to the point now where she's trying to find somebody to take over, and because it's kind of over her head at this point, so she just wants to find the right people to continue it from this point and start the funding process and where they can get funds. And that's about all I had.
Derek?
Not much. Attended the skijoring on Saturday, which Andrea talked on. It was pretty slushy. I'm thinking Sunday was a little quicker for them with the cold weather, but yeah, it looks like it brings in a lot of good people and fun activity. Parks and Rec Advisory Board tomorrow at noon. Planning and zoning next Monday with a work session. So I'll have more to report. And then just kind of getting back to the ballot initiative, probably good to have that strategic plan workshop too, because I know this year we potentially have the LMD as well as the marijuana sales tax that we need to talk about. So there might be a full ballot.
There's
that we
gonna
need
be a
to
bunch
get
of stuff on the ballot.
strategic about. So I think it's all good things to listen to and kind of hopefully get a strategic plan, see what that ballot looks like. That's all I have.
Peter, you were working on a facilitator, you still?
Yes, I had gotten in contact with a facilitator early last week. We talked, and he was pretty tied up on 2 or 3 other projects. He said he didn't think he could quite fit in there. So I was asked to, by one of the city managers I was talking to contact Kevin Bomber with CML and get some other names to see if we can make a contact and find somebody that's available for that meeting. I'm thinking of like a half-day facilitation. Kind of take us through that.
Well, it'd be good if we can tie in RTA speaking at that time, to have some subject matter experts, if we can arrange it there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
okay,
Well, yeah, exactly.
okay. Michelle?
I attended the Suicide Prevention Coalition meeting. It was their first meeting. It was really, I think, informal discussion. Chief Cochran was there as well. I attended virtually. Just really trying to get a better understanding of what that committee wants to do moving forward. I attended and did the facility tour with Peter. Thank you again to you and all the department heads. That was really great to put eyes on all of the capital projects. I participated in the Northwest Colorado Snowmobile Club poker run. They sold over 400 hands, and we had a really good turnout, so that was fun. I wanted to put in a plug. We have our first in several years Moffat County Youth Wrestling Tournament on Sunday, February 23rd at the high school. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities, or just come and watch the kiddos. Moffat County will have between 30 and probably 50 wrestlers that day. And then I will be attending the State of the Community and the Regional Economic Development Forum. That's all I have.
Good, you get to hear me talk, unless you want to.
No, thank you.
All right, I guess it's to me. I don't feel too bad then, because I was out of town a little bit as well, so, I have a couple items to go over. Mountain Rail, Peter and I were on the phone with CDOT representative and the consultant that's working with the state, trying to work out the details of Mountain Rail. Why, we're kind of running out of time. They mentioned that they're going to be forwarding a resolution to the city asking, number one, showing that supports the effort, asking for a terminal area redevelopment plan, and overall support of the rail station development and its location. So once we get that, which he sounded was coming pretty soon, council would need to act on that. So I think it's utmost important. We'll have to see what time frame we have to get that passed and through council, but again, support. Are we in support of this or not? So I think this were the work sessions or, the strategic planning are going to come in, be more important. So more to come on that as it goes. I attended county commissioner meeting today. They had public comment was kind of interesting. They had two people talk. One talked about, I don't know if you read the comments and you heard on one newspaper in the state where Northwest Colorado got dinged a little bit for, it said we already are courting nuclear waste dump facilities. We're not. We haven't had discussions at this point with them. We are going to have a workshop down the road. The person who was speaking talked about nuclear's kind of scary. We don't know a lot, and I don't know, but we need to consider all things in our future. But, we need to ask the right questions. We need to understand the risks and liabilities, and they're best of anybody's knowledge that they could come up with. There hasn't been an accident at a nuclear waste storage facility, but comes back to we need to ask all the right questions. We would be in an information stage when that happens, if they come talk to us. So, and the impact, they want to consider the impact of the solar fields or having on our land in our area and the growth of them. So those were just general public comments. Then the next item was Planning and Zoning Department. Candace Miller had 4 items. Public hearing on change to language, section 405.4, temporary use amendments. What that did is add strict timelines to temporary uses that are approved with annual reporting and possible inspections to make sure that the temporary use is conforming to the development standards that they had. They had another minor subdivision application, North Maybell Minor Subdivision. It was approved. Subdivision exemption application for Ortega. It was approved. An application for a replat for George U. Penner replat. So not a ton on their agenda, but then Road and Bridge Department approved the bids for cattle guard iron, mag chloride, and dump box. So that was their meeting. And last item I have is I will not be here the first meeting of March, which is the 11th, right? Yeah. Mr. Duran, my vice chair, is not going to be here, or assistant mayor, and Michelle's not going to be here, right? So Luke possibly may not be here. So it looks like we're teetering on a quorum at this point. So I will get back to you as soon as Luke informs me, but the procedure is we don't have a quorum, Do we cancel the meeting before?
Correct, you won't have a meeting, and you can always vote if you think that's going to be a possibility at the next meeting to cancel the 11th meeting anyways, kind of like we do that second meeting in December.
Okay. So hopefully by next meeting, please keep me informed, but it looks like 3 of you for sure. So, okay. Another item I have is on the 26th, I will not be able to attend, but the Boys and Girls Club are putting on their Youth of the Year competition. There are 2 Moffett County high school participants in this. It's in Steamboat, and it's a great activity to watch the youth and talk about their development and what the Boys and Girls Club has done for them. So, great activity on the 26th. If you're looking for something to do, let me know, and it's free to attend, but please plan on something very, very interesting. So with that said, any questions for any council member? Hearing none?
I do have,
Okay,
I do have HRC meeting
okay.
this Thursday. If anybody has any thoughts, just reach out and let me know. I think it's our award meeting,
night.
so.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, item 6 then, public comment. John, public comment. You already spoke, so. I don't see too much in the audience, so I won't read the whole outline of rules and regulations, but anybody who would like to come up and approach council, this is your opportunity to speak to council of your concerns within the city. With that said, going once, going twice. Okay, moving on. Item 7, public hearing, none scheduled. Item 8, other business. Item A, city manager Peter Brixis to present introduction and first reading ordinance number 1162, 2025, an ordinance of the Craig City Council repealing and replacing Craig Municipal Code, Chapter 13, Article 48, Section 15, titled Senior Citizens Discount.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So this has been really a tough and diligent process trying to figure out what the impact of this ordinance would be in terms of how many would take advantage of the discount program for the base rate. We're looking at replacing a current senior discount program that's in our Title 13 code. It's a single paragraph, basically offers $1 discount on your water bill as a senior, if you qualify, and we have 47 people on that plan today. So they're receiving $1 a month discount on their water bill. Ordinance 1162 goes into offering certain categories of people that are often disadvantaged, or seniors that have a duration of residency that's 10 years in the city. So if they're a person that's permanently disabled and they have some documentation from a physician, or it's enrolled in a state or federal assistance program, and they have proof of that participation in that program, or they're 65 years of age or older, and they have a residency history in the city of 10 years. So those are the qualifying parameters for, and it could be any one of those, and I have a feeling that just looking at these categories, there's a lot of crossover within them. I mean, you'll have that group. Initially, looking at the information we had from some demographic material that Melanie had pulled together for me, it looked like we were probably in that 300 to 400 range that could potentially participate in the program. And we looked at taking base rates. This is strictly for the base rate. So if you look at my memo, that's right behind the ordinance. Those base rates are, for the water fund, are $36.45. And the base rate for the sewer is $47.25. 55. And we're looking at recommending, at least in this scenario, 340 households at a 20% base rate discount. Now, there was some information that came out in the paper here recently talking about how almost 27.6% of Moffett County residents are on some form of public assistance. I had not seen that number in anything we had looked at before. And we had that number late last week. I was able to, excuse me, I was able to get a hold of some people that could shed some light on that information. And it looked like within the city limits, it was like 1,771 households that could or would potentially be in a household that had some form of public assistance. Now, it's hard to say how many of those households actually have a utility bill. I mean, if they're in Columbine Apartments, or if they're at Sunset Meadows, or if they're at one of the apartment complexes, or if they're master metered in a trailer park someplace, there's a good chance that they may not have a utility bill that they're responsible for directly. And so this program pertains to the group that actually have responsibility for the utility bill. Now, in order to kind of backstop this ordinance, we put some conditions in the ordinance so that there's some level of control. So if the ordinance were to be passed, it would replace that senior discount program and offer the discount to those three categories that I just read. But as a condition, we're saying that the council, by resolution, not by ordinance, would have the opportunity to suspend that program each calendar year, probably during the budget cycle, evaluate and say, okay, I think this year is a go or a no-go on the discount program. The other thing is, what I think is not in this ordinance that we should add is conditions that allow the council by resolution to also cap the number of participants, because if it's 1,070 or 1,700, which I doubt it'll be that high, but if it were even 1,000, that's higher at the rate that we're talking about. The third item that I felt should be a condition within the ordinance is that the city council would have the option to adjust that percentage. If you think 20%, which is about $16.80 off of the two bills, if you combine that discount each month, which is significant and really takes into account those that are most in need of support, whether it's utilities or gas or housing or food or what have you. There's a large disadvantaged community within our community, and we have qualified for grants because we are designated as a disadvantaged community. And so I guess with this ordinance and those conditions, it gives the council the control to say, okay, this is how much our budget will tolerate for this year. And, you could say, okay, we're not going with 340 households, we're going with 680, and it's going to be a 10% discount. You're still at the same number. But we've looked at the number, and you've seen in Carl's projections, he has provided projections over through 2030, showing what happens to our reserves each of those years, based on what he projects what some of those capital projects are necessary for the sewer fund and for the water fund. And of course, there's some pretty significant projects out there. One of those is itemized in here in 2027 for the sewer plant. That's 30 or 40 million that's in this plan? What is it? 20 million, okay. And of course, this is 2025. Realistically, and I think Carl would agree, there's no $20 million project that's going to happen in 2027 based on the fact that we're already in 2025. And we still don't have the nutrient rule parameters that would designate exactly what the corrective action would have to be for our discharge. But anyway, there's a lot of factors here, but the ordinance is pretty straightforward. The three conditions that I think should be in the ordinance, if you agree with that, would be things that would give you that latitude and the control of that program, which would offer those that are in our community that are disadvantaged an opportunity to have some relief, at least in that category. Any questions?
Peter, the ordinance is written with all three of those in there already. So first page on section 1348015, section B, in the amount equal to 20% of the base rate charge may be amended from time to time. And then on the next page, 1 and 2 gives us the same power there, so.
Right, but I think we have to specify that those amendments can happen by resolution. We don't have to go back through the ordinance process.
Cool.
But, yeah, you are correct.
So that has to be worded in there by resolution?
But
Okay,
but number one says it's by resolution.
okay. Yeah,
So if we pass this ordinance, and then would we come back and pass a resolution for 2025 with what the cap is and what the percentage
I
is?
would assume.
Yeah.
Exactly.
so what was the total impact?
Yeah,
of silver?
number one does say by resolution, but it's only for suspending the program.
Oh, not for adjusting.
Okay,
Yeah.
Do we need to be more specific on the, under letter B, where it says may be amended from time to time? I mean, if that's gonna
Right.
be something that is looked at annually, does it need to have more specific language, or is that sufficient, and then and then it happens if needed?
I think it needs to be amended to be more specific in terms of what the latitude is by the council and to specify by resolution.
so we can add that on the second page, 1, 2, and 3 by resolution, yeah. Passage of a resolution,
Yeah, I haven't, what do you think? I think that would be appropriate. I mean, we can get all those conditions in the same spot.
so you're basing 20% at 340,
340 households.
and that's how much impact?
Well, it's 0.7%. If you take the grants out, it's 0.7 of the total revenues on water, and it's 1.3% of the total revenues before grants on the sewer, within the sewer fund.
Would this just come out of water and sewer budget, or would general fund?
No, this would come out of, this would come out of the enterprises. Yep.
Taking all your money, Carl.
And then how do you propose making the deficit, or?
Well, we're proposing not to create much of a deficit here
Okay,
and provide a few households. The total program is about 69,000 between both funds annually. Those two funds before grants in 2025 have total revenues of just over $7 million.
so 69,000 on 7 million?
69,000 between the two funds
Okay.
on 7 million in revenues. That's before grants. We also have some grants that'll add to that revenue number.
Well, I think the intent is clear to help out at-risk members of our community. So 69,000 on over 7 million.
Peter, I have a question.
Yeah,
Good.
If, you know how you go to like Taco Bell or Murdoch's and they're always asking you to round up, could we offer a roundup option for others on their bill? They could round up to the next $1 or $5 or whatever to help fund some of that?
we'd have to look at that. I'm not sure how our billing system would handle that. That's something we can look at. Maybe have a more concise answer for you next meeting or before that.
That could be a way to fund it, but this is up for
Time-wise.
first reading now.
Yeah.
It'll be a second reading where we can implement those changes for the second reading. Michelle's suggestion is something
Right.
separate, I think, that we can implement really online or in bag stuffers or on your bill, and if finance can do it, that may be something you just add to the bill. You know, something that simple.
I don't mind this program. Where did this idea spur from? Just
It's several communities across the state have programs similar to this. This is one that I found that was the most straightforward, I felt, from what I saw out there.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm in full support.
hey, council, what's your pleasure for first reading?
If you have a motion, could you also indicate the changes that we should implement on the next reading?
Three changes in your motion would be by resolution annually, council could set the percentage of discount, may cancel the program annually, and
Cap the number of
cap
participants.
the number of participants.
So it'd be kind of a first come, first serve.
Right, on the first,
By resolution annually, and what was the other one after that?
cap the number of
Yep.
participants
Percentage.
And cap
and the percentage and
Oh, yeah. Of,
the continuing the program.
And so each budget cycle, Carl's going to have a recommendation for you.
We already know what he's going to suggest.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1162, 2025, with some, what, amendments, or not amendments, but, with amendments for, by resolution annually, and percentage, able to adjust the percentage, and cap the number of parties, and
And cancel the program.
cancel the program.
I'll second.
Okay, Councilmember Jackson had a motion to approve ordinance 1162 with 3 amendments, seconded by Councilwoman Camp. Discussion. Again, this is first reading. We'll have those changes on the final ordinance next meeting. Hearing no discussion, council, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 1162 passes. Next item. Item B, Water Wastewater Director Carl Ray to present for approval the award of bid for large diameter sewer line jet cleaning to DRC Construction Services in the amount of $61,541. Mr. Ray, now that we took money from you, you're going to spend more.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So in 2023, we were modeling the collection system to address concerns with developments, and we found there's a large amount of grit in the large diameter pipes that we have that we can't clean with our equipment. So in 2024, we got some verbal estimates, and we thought that $20,000 would cover it. Found out that that was grossly inadequate, and so we came back to council for the 2025 year with $65,000 budget to do that cleaning. So we published bids, and we had a pre-bid meeting, and bids were opened at noon on January 31st, and we received 4 bids from ProPipe, DRC Construction Services, Xfield Services, and Kinetic Energy Services, Provac. So our engineering team went over the bids and made their recommendation to go with DRC Construction Services, and having the base bid with 3 alternates. So the base bid was the large 36-inch diameter pipe, and then the other bid alternates are the smaller ones on the west side of town that are also impacted, but still too large for us to clean with our equipment. And so I am in agreement with the engineer's recommendation to go with DRC Construction Services without manhole inspections. So that was the final bid alternate. And during the acoustic assessment, R.H. Borden documented with pictures and text the condition of manholes. So I don't think that level 2 manholes inspection is worth spending the extra money. So my recommendation is that we go with DRC Construction in the amount of $61,541.
Council, questions?
I was just curious why there was such a difference in the 2 bids were so similar, and then there was the bid from Xfield Services that was significantly higher. Just curious as to what that difference was.
Well, we actually don't have an explanation for that. Last year, we saw the same kind of bids come out when we didn't have enough money to fund it. And we thought it was because people not everybody attended a pre-bid meeting, so that this time we had a mandatory pre-bid meeting, so they all had a level playing field. I'm not sure why the numbers were so different. DRC's references checked out well too on the western slope, so I feel pretty confident in that, and it's similar to another bidder from last year that didn't bid this time is Snowbridge, and they were right around that number when they bid last year, right around the $60,000 to $70,000 range. So I think that's a pretty good number. I'm not sure where some of these extremely high, almost $500,000 bids are coming from.
I was just curious if it's like different equipment that they're using or different.
Same equipment, some of it's contractors' means and methods. They can bypass pump or they can use recycling trucks. There are different techniques that they could use, but we don't specify that as long as the lines are clean and inspected, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
Carl, is bonding included in this?
Yes.
And where does all the sediment that they collect?
We're going to put it in our still permitted earthen lagoon up at the sludge lagoons because we have room in there.
They're responsible for hauling?
Yeah, they're responsible for hauling it up there.
Any other questions? Council, entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the award of bid for the large diameter sewer line jet cleaning to DRC Construction Services in the amount of $61,541, which includes the base bid and bid alternate 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Councilmember Duran made a motion to approve the large diameter sewer line cleaning to DRC Construction, seconded by Councilmember Looper. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved, Carl. You're Item C, Road and Bridge Director Shane Baker to present for approval the award of a bid for aggregate materials to 3B Enterprises in the amount of $92,950. Good evening.
Good evening, council. Yeah, this is our aggregate materials bid for 2025 that we opened February 3rd. This is overall an estimation of the aggregate that the city will use, mostly road and bridge, water and sewer, as well as the aggregate for chip seal. You'll see on the 3H wash chips down there, that's the biggest amount. And this year we only received one bid from 3B. Last year, if you guys remember, we got one from Elam, but it doesn't sound like they're coming to town this year, so they didn't bid it. So with that, they met all specs, and my recommendation is to award the bid to 3B for $92,950.
Questions for Shane?
How often do you go under or over these quantities?
So with the road base, we're usually pretty close. I think last year was kind of a banner year for water. They had some big water breaks, but usually we're really close to that 1,500 tons. And I just didn't want to, make an estimation of what happened last year because we would be way under. And then with the chip seal, the wash chips, that's what they make us. They don't want to make any more than what we bid because they don't sell them, so.
Okay, any other questions? Council, entertain a motion?
Move to approve Road and Bridge Director Shane Baker's request for approval of the award of bid for aggregate materials to 3B Enterprises in the amount of $92,950.
Second.
Councilwoman Gotchall made a motion to approve the bid to 3B Enterprises, seconded by Councilwoman Camp. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's been approved.
Thank you.
Item D. Let me get back to it here. Building official Marlon Eckhoff to present for approval the award of bid for one 4x4 single cab with 8-foot bed to Victory Motors of Craig in the amount of $49,395.
Evening, council and mayor. So Shane actually did all the legwork to put this together and make this memo, but this goes under community development department somewhat now because it's under building maintenance. And so this is a truck for Lee Fagan. He takes care of all the building maintenance on all the city-owned buildings and that sort of thing. And so anyhow, we had this budgeted for $60,000 for the truck only. Luckily, as you can see there, the bids come in about 10 grand less. With the lowest bid being Fremont Motors out of Riverton, Wyoming, but it was only $21 less than local dealership for Victory Motors. I spoke with Shane, and the difference between the Chevy and the Ram, he said they've had good luck with the Rams and the 6.4s, so shouldn't be an issue there. So overall, this will have a truck topper on it as well. We had a total in our a total budget of $80,000, and that truck topper is looking like it's coming in at about $18,000. So we'll still be about 10 grand or more under budget on our $80,000 budget. So I don't know if you have any questions.
Questions? Council?
I'll make a motion to approve purchasing a single cab 8-foot bed 2025 Ram Hemi from Victory Motors in the amount of $49,395.
Second.
Councilmember Looper made a motion to approve the purchase of the truck, and seconded by Councilmember Jackson. Any discussion? And the reason this is up for us again is I think we did put a recommendation of 50,000. So anything over that, this could have been in the consent agenda if we're under budget, right? But we also asked for 50,000 limit there too, so.
It wasn't low bid, is why we.
Yeah. So, all righty, with that said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Thanks, council.
Who gets the new truck?
Lee.
Yeah? Okay, yeah. Okay, item E, GIS Technology Tech, John Mainhart, to present for approval the award of request for proposals for the hybrid cloud system upgrade for 2 Colorado doorways in the amount of $58,142. Welcome, sir.
Evening, Mayor and Council.
We don't hear too much from you.
Nope.
Good.
So during the budget season, we discussed retrofitting some kind of badge reader security system for the City Hall building. We budgeted $55,000. On January 8th, we put it out to bid. We only received one bid from Colorado Doorways, and it's slightly over budget by about $3,000. I'd recommend approving the bid, as I've worked with Colorado Doors before in a different capacity at the school district. Also, the hardware that is on this bid is equivalent to water and wastewater, so there's some integration we could do with that. It's for 9 doors and 13 security cameras. It is cloud-based, so there is an annual licensing fee. You can see on page 2 on the bid. So keep that in mind.
And you did quote the 10-year, 3340.
No, so this is, this 58,000 only includes the first year. So next year we would have to budget for additional licensing fee. They recommend the 10-year because the hardware does come with a 10-year warranty. So if we just did the 10-year, it would last the lifetime of the hardware. It'd also be nice to have ID badges for staff. That would be also included in this. I know HR expressed concern with that. Let's see.
Questions? I know the sheriff's department just upgraded a bunch of cameras.
Yes, yeah, the county is also moving to this Verkada system.
They're with this.
They're really nice. You can do keyword searches if you know what you're looking for in the video feeds. It's very good system.
Fire department just installed these cameras too, so sounds like they're going to be in the area, so.
Yeah.
If we need service or repairs, so.
Yep.
And this is Strickland City Hall, or is it on any?
City
other
Hall.
building? Strictly City Hall, okay.
We're mainly interested in getting the security system for the doors, so we don't have to redo codes every time we have turnover. We can just turn off a badge.
Okay. Any other questions? Council?
I'll make a motion to approve the bid to hybrid cloud system, for the hybrid cloud system upgrade to Colorado Doorways in the amount of $58,142.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the technology upgrade to hybrid cloud systems to Colorado Doorways. First by Mr. Duran, second by Councilwoman Gotchel. Any discussion? So are you concerned that only one bid came in, or is this something that's only available and they're the only, did you spec those cameras, for example?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so they're the only supplier of those cameras?
Mhm.
So it could be a sole source bid then? Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Take that extra 3,000 out of Peter's budget, will you?
I was thinking about girls.
All right, item 9, City Attorney Heather Cannon to address the concern raised in public comment during the January 28, 2025 council meeting regarding the alleged conflict of interest related to the Meadowwood housing project. Heather.
Thank you, Mayor. In speaking with Councilwoman Camp following.
Excuse me, Heather, can you make sure your mic's good?
I have two, so I'm hoping.
All right, I just want people to be able to hear you at home, too.
Honestly, I think it's just my voice because
Yeah.
I heard the courts don't pick my.
I'll turn my hearing aids up, okay?
So following the council meeting on January 28th, and it was raised on January 28th that Councilwoman Camp had a conflict of interest, or it was alleged, related to the housing project, and that's why we effectively vacated her vote, or the council voted to nullify her vote. I think it was important to put this on the agenda to clarify that Councilwoman Camp did not have a conflict, has not had a conflict, and currently does not have a conflict with regard to the housing project as alleged during public comment. Councilwoman Camp's conflict that this council nullified her vote for stemmed only from a client that she was working with that would benefit from the code revision, I believe, to Title 9 or Title 16. So just so everybody is aware, public, I think transparency is very important. But, you know, for the sake of Councilwoman Camp's, you know, really her reputation on council, you know, she has been diligent in ensuring she doesn't have any conflicts of interest, but certainly she has not and does not have a conflict of interest with regard to that housing project. I'll let Councilwoman Camp address further if she would like, just knowing that she also does run a business, and so she owes a duty of loyalty to the clients that she serves as well.
Sure. And the other thing that was addressed during public comment at that meeting, Mrs. Roberson, was in regard to my contact or interaction with the owner of that Carpenter leasing property. I did try to contact Mrs. Roberson that next morning on Wednesday after our council meeting, and I have not heard back from her, just left a message on her phone, have not heard back. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. So this would have been like last year after council voted to not move forward with rezoning the open space at Woodbury Park. I had been in contact with Shannon and just kind of was, you know, checking in with her like, hey, have we heard anything from those owners? Are they even interested in selling that property? And so, you know, I just said to Shannon as a council member, not necessarily as a real estate agent, you know, I'll try to make contact with them as well, because basically at that point they had mailed information to that owner of that property, which we do that often as real estate agents. If we have someone who's interested in a property that maybe is not for sale, we will reach out, you know, and try to make contact. Really, it's generally through public record. So I was able to obtain a phone number for Mr. Perea. When I initially called and left messages, I did not hear back from him. And then I actually did hear back from him. It was about the middle of May when I heard back from him. I did speak with Mr. Perea, who is the owner of that property. I did let him know that I was a council member and, of course, also a real estate agent here in the community. I kind of explained to him the project and the reasoning behind contacting him to see if that land was available for sale or if he had any interest in selling. Basically, we only discussed whether or not he had interest in selling that property, which he indicated that he did. And I did let Shannon know that, you know, I had his contact information. If the developer decided they wanted to reach out to him, I did pass that contact information along. And I just let Mr. Perea know that the developer and the real estate agent would be in contact if they wanted to pursue that any further. Mr. Elgin also was the owner of property which is located west of Woodbury Drive. I had sold that property to Mr. Elgin, I want to say about a year prior. So I also reached out to him because I know that was just in conversations. That might be another option. It's a 6-acre parcel on the west side of Woodbury Drive. So I also reached out to Mr. Elgin to see if he had any desire in selling as well. And I did notify him because I had worked with him previously as a client. I did let him know that in the event that the developer decided they wanted to move forward, he would be actually hearing from their real estate agent, and I would not have any interaction or contact with him regarding that transaction. Obviously, the Dragoo's decided to go forward and have now made contact with, and I believe purchased the property located on Mac Lane from Mr. Perea. But I did remove myself from that after that initial contact with him, and just pass that information on through Shannon. So just wanted to make that clear that there was no further interaction between myself and Mr. Perea as far as the actual sale of that property. So.
And I think to clarify further, that your involvement was only just facilitating contact. As a council member, you had no business transaction. And I just think, I want to make that clear for the public, that you were acting solely as a council member, and there's not ever been a concern with regard to a conflict with business.
And Heather, wasn't the nullified vote for ordinance 1161, just back to the nullified vote, which was the ordinance concerning non-conforming uses
Correct.
anyway? So I just wanted to clarify that too, that the nullified vote was just for non-conforming uses, which didn't
Which
have
that
anything.
passed 7-0, so nullifying still 6.
Which also didn't have anything to do with that particular
Correct.
project. That was just a totally different ordinance.
Thanks for that addition, Marlon.
Well, Heather, thank you for clearing that up. You know how the rumor mill can get started, and I didn't want to add any fuel to that. And Andrea, thank you for your clarification as well. And hopefully that will put that to rest. So any other questions or comments about that issue, council?
No, it doesn't happen often, but I think when we do have public comment and stuff like that comes up, I think it's good to do it and follow up in discussion like we did. I think this is perfect.
Right, and I think just, in the interest of being accurate, I was aware from my recent contact with Councilwoman Camp of the factual accuracy of that claim, but I wanted to double check and make sure that my recollection was correct rather than attempting to add that to a discussion at the end of last council meeting, just so we were 100% accurate on the record.
Okay. Again, thank you. Any other? Nope. So, staff reports. 10A, Police Chief Michael Cochran to present the police report for the month of January 2025. Evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You should have the packet in front of you with our monthly report. Nothing significant to point out. I will tell you that the month of January has started off being extremely busy. We've managed, as you know, we're down 5 on the patrol side. We do have 2 that started the academy the first week of January. So that leaves us 3 open positions. We've also been advertising for the CSO position that we added. I think that closes the end of the week. We have had some interesting interest in those positions with some candidates putting in, as well as we will be closing for our corporals positions that we reclassified 2 sergeants to. And I think we've had some pretty good turnout for those, about 5 applications put in for those positions. Number-wise, again, being short-staffed, the numbers are still high for the month of January. January and the colder months tend to be our slower time, but as you can see, not necessarily so. Other reports that I've included, we have the officer activity for code enforcement officers. 2 of those sheets, you can see that they were decently busy, still animal control being one of the highest calls that we have. But down a little bit from the prior month of December. The rest of the reports are the standard that we usually do every month, with the exception of the back half of the packet. And we decided to try something new, and that was to give you a list of citations that were issued throughout the month, with the type of citations that were actually issued. be it speeding, be it parked vehicles, be it DUIs, different things that we can issue summonses on, and kind of give council an idea of what's going on each month with those. You'll notice on the citation number, any citation that begins with an M is a citation that's referred to municipal court, and any citation that begins with a C is a citation that goes to county court. We've done fairly well on trying to put the ones that have to go by statute to county into county, and anything else into municipal court. So quite interesting on the citations that get issued. I think with those citations, and as you got from our last council meeting from the courts, that we've increased those tremendously over the past several years, so much so that court dates have had to expand quite drastically. Very interesting on that. Is there any questions I can answer, council?
No, I just wanted to thank you, Chief, for adding that last section. That's fascinating.
I think it gives some good information.
Yeah.
That you kind of see, at least on a citation side, what's going on. Nope. Anything else?
No other questions?
Chief, real quick, since you just added this page.
Yes, sir.
You said the ones that start with the C are county?
Yes, those go to county court.
So how come, like, if the location is within the city?
There are certain crimes that by statute can't be tried in municipal court, so they have to go over to the county court.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So Chief, what do we need to do so we're not the training ground for Steamboat, Hayden, whoever we're losing people to?
I will tell you that we've made a huge step in that.
Okay.
With all the information that we had with employees looking at Steamboat in those areas, with the steps that council took to be preemptive on that, we didn't lose anybody to those agencies. The people that we did lose, we had one that moved out of state for a different job. We had one that retired, getting out of the business altogether. We had a separate one that left the position that is not in law enforcement. And we lost one that went to the sheriff's office. Okay. Again, it wasn't any reflection with the pay. It was the potential he had there to go in as a supervisor. But I think the steps that council made this past year have helped tremendously with that. And with the open 3 positions we have in the police, for the first time we've got some interest in those. Unfortunately, in one way, none of those are certified, so they're people that would have to go to the academy later on this year. As most of you know, the academy is roughly 5.5 months. Then they come back for about 12 weeks and ride with a trainer. So if they're able to start in January, they're usually getting close to being done by about October. So it's close to a year process for us to train somebody new. Would be amazing if we had somebody that was certified, but that's just not what's happening right now. But we do thank council for the steps you took. Without those steps, I feel like we would have lost more than we have.
Good. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. No other questions for the chief? Then we'll move on to item 11, closing remarks and informational items. Council, anything?
Mayor?
Staff, anything else?
Yes, I just have one item. As you know, President Trump has frozen a lot of federal funding at this point. We have 4 federal grants that we haven't, 3 that we haven't touched and 1 that we're in the middle of. Actually, I should say we have 3 we haven't touched, and 2 we're in the middle of. We just received a $500,000 reimbursement from HUD. That was a grant that was awarded 2 years ago, and we submitted our first reimbursement request. And within a week, I think it was within a week, we received an electronic transfer of a $500,000. So that worked out finally, pretty quickly. Not sure where the second half is at this point because it could be hung up for a while. But we have a couple of critical infrastructure grants. One of the EPA grants is for the generation, power generation backup for water and sewer. I would think that that's probably going to make it through the process and released at some point. Then we have the 2 HUD grants for the business park and one for the South Water Line. And then we still have the other half of the HUD grant that we just got the $500,000 on for the 8th Street project. So that's where we're at with that. I also wanted to mention that we're using some technology now that I haven't used before, and it's amazing. Yeah, you've all heard of artificial intelligence, right? And Chat GPT, have you used Chat GPT? Today, I wrote a detailed single paragraph for an RFP, and it took me 7 minutes to write that paragraph. And as soon as I finished it, I hit the return button, and it generated a 4-page RFP. Well, it was actually an RFQ. And I reviewed it, had very few changes. It was amazing. It even quoted statutory, like American Society of Engineering. It had references on different areas within the quote, but it was just amazing. I shared that information with Shane the other day, and he put together an RFP, which I haven't reviewed yet, but it did the same thing for him. And I've shared that with Ryan now. I think I didn't have much faith in artificial intelligence, but if you can enter a single paragraph of detailed information and come out with an accurate 4-page RFQ, that is an amazing feat to me. And that can be done in less than 10 minutes. So
Good.
Yeah, that's very good.
I've used it for a couple presentations I've used, but it is, you got to twerk it a little bit, get rid of some of the fruity stuff that comes out. But maybe that's just me, but
Fruity in, fruity out.
yeah, fruity in, fruity out. Yeah, well, that's good. All right, anything else? Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Looper made a motion to adjourn, second by Councilwoman Camp. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?